Hey guys, happy Monday, and I'm really excited about getting the podcast on the road. I have a very fantastic guest for you today, Dr. Stephanie Stoddart, go by Stephanie, and she's a dentist by training, but she's also talking about physician well-being, healthcare well-being, financial freedom's part of it, and it's going to be an all-around fantastic discussion. So, Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, we connected through a mutual guest and talk about your background and your training and how it led to what you're doing today.
Yeah, it's quite the journey. I'll try to keep it brief. So I'm originally from Jamaica. I'm not sure a lot of people know that, but I'm originally from Jamaica. And when I was 4, I said I wanted to be a doctor. And I got to the US and, being from a different country, I had some challenges to face in terms of which direction to go. I'm actually like you did MD, PhD, but I wasn't thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in school for 8 more years. Like that did not sound fun at all. But ended up doing a degree in biomedical engineering, got into it and realized that, yeah, I loved it, but I really love working with people more. So I took a U-turn and applied to dental school, got into all my dental schools and got a really good scholarship from the University of Connecticut School of Dental Medicine. And for that, I'm very grateful. So first things first is like, you have a vision for yourself and you get to commit to it and not get caught up on like what it's going to look like or how you're going to get there. My end goal was always to be a doctor and to, lead the charge for underserved communities, all the things, but I didn't quite know that my path was going to be that circuitous. So lesson one, commit to the vision and the how will come when it needs to come. So I got into school, did all the things, and did a training, was always focused on my health and well-being and got married, all the things. I'm the breadwinner for my family and had my first kid. And like I said, just working hard at home, working hard at work, not figuring out how to do these things well. And my second son, I came home late one day and he's like, Mom, you're home late again. And I'm like, what do you mean? I put food on the table, I do all the things, but he was just thinking like, wow, my mom was working so hard. She's never home with us, and it really like jolted me to the core because, here am I being the doctor, doing the good things, helping the communities. And I felt like I was failing at home with my own son. So that's where the handbrake got pulled for me. And, a couple years before that too, I had suffered a miscarriage and it just felt like I didn't really get the lesson. Like I lost my twins and I thought I was doing everything. And then my kid who was here with me was just like, Mom, you're not here, you're not present. So at that time, as luck would have it, or yeah, the universe is always watching and listening for us. I had a family member who is a coach. She saw where I was headed and she pulled me aside and we started coaching. And since then, things have made a great turnaround. So now I do the same for others, helping women, dentists, female doctors who are struggling. And I know I use that word because we don't like to admit that we're struggling, but we're struggling to maintain this work-life balance and really just to prioritize ourselves, really come from a place of wholeness and not like worried about the guilt that could be associated with going a different path. So yeah, that's how that happened. Thank you, my kid. Thank
Yeah.
you, little one. Thank you, Matisse.
Yeah, it's quite interesting how you know your son and then previously that you realized that this your passion dentistry was becoming a source of stress and how it led you to this path of transformational coaching. So what's interesting is that a lot of my colleagues and friends like my when I was growing up, a lot of my friends, their parents were doctors and lawyers and they secretly confided in me that they hated their parents because they were never around but then talking to the parents, they're like, yeah, I put food on the table, I pay for these, your car and all that. So many professionals struggle with balancing work, family, personal well-being. And based on your experience, expertise, what are some key strategies you recommend to maintain this balance without and while maintaining these career aspirations?
Yeah. I wouldn't say quit medicine or dentistry. It seems like the obvious choice because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing such a good, but we all went into healthcare to make a difference for individuals. We have such a great impact and such a great influence. I think what it boiled down for me was really living in alignment with my values. And values is just like it's a guidepost that you can use, and it may change over time. Life is filled with seasons. And I think for me, like I was fixed. And a lot of us can have this fixed mindset, like this is it and that's it, and there's nothing else. But once I embraced that growth mindset, I started to explore what my values look like. I mean, I knew what it meant for me. Service is actually one of my highest values, but really just like what does that mean for me, and just challenging what it meant for me, not what it meant for you, what does it mean for my friend, what does it mean for anybody else, or what it truly meant for me, and being bold enough to accept that for myself and stand in for that. I think that's where that comes in. Like you're like, maybe, and you're being like tiptoeing around the issue, but you got to like stand firm for what it is that you're striving for and standing for. So values. And of course, with those values come that wonderful B word called boundaries. And I love to say boundaries are the highest form of self-love. Like it's the most loving way that you protect you. It really is. Like, really getting into the habit of prioritizing the things for you and putting those on the calendar. Yeah, we can be such great practitioners, but sometimes we fall off last in our list. So even like putting ourselves, making a time, I like to do like at the beginning of the week, I sit down with my calendar and just dump everything down and see like what are the things that I'm actually going to move the needle either for my health, my family, my career within that time, and block it off. So it's similar to, okay, I wake up 8 o'clock, I go to bed at 9 o'clock, and those are fixed times within my schedule. And everything else in between, we find a spot for it, but not to the point of you overwhelming yourself. But like that's where those values come in, because they're going to guide where you're going to go. So for me, it includes working out every day. And by every day, 4 days in the gym, and so just taking some simple walks, scheduling time with each of my kids. The studies have shown even just spending 10 minutes or 12 minutes of time, like quality time with your children, that it feels you're present, you're connected, right? You're developing that relationship with them, as opposed to worrying about like how long a time. Like I focus more on the quality of time that I spend with them. So that helped with a bit with the mom guilt that I was feeling. Like I was like, okay, wow, we're just rushing from things to things, but not really investing in the quality of the relationship. So values, boundaries, finding hobbies that really light you up. Like what is it that sets you on fire? Because sometimes you can get defined by either your work roles. I'm a doctor. Your home roles. I'm a mom. I'm a dishwasher. I'm a whatever. But like finding things outside of those traditional confines can help in bringing that spark back to you. Like find out what it is that lights you up. Do you like playing the piano? Do you like walking? And make it a priority to do that. And we only have 24 hours in every single day, and 8 of those should be spent sleeping. Yeah, 8 of those should be spent sleeping. So the rest of the time, like I said, if you have 16 hours to play with, you want to make sure that your things that are highest priorities to you, so your family, your health, your wellness, that those get clocked in your calendar, and then work is secondary. So I had a mentor a couple of years ago. He's like, how can you fit work into your life versus fitting your life into work? Right. And that has been a guiding post for me as well, too. So, yeah. So values, boundaries, things that light you up, and being a stand for what you're creating for yourself and your family and your career as well.
One thing is talking about the impact of coaching, and just especially since the pandemic, this idea of healthcare coaching was never a topic, but now a lot of physicians are, in healthcare, they're saying, impact of coaching, it helps to have a coach. Even like Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, they all had coaches. So share specific success stories or transformation and that demonstrates your clients experience increased self-worth, better connections, better overall sense of well-being.
For sure. Every every successful person, like you said, Tiger Woods, the president, everyone has a coach. Why not you, right? I think with a coach, and actually I know with a coach, we can see the blind spots that you can't see. So what is a blind spot? So you've probably been on autopilot for such a long time that some of the things that you're doing, they may not be serving you and you don't know that because you've just been doing it and you're oblivious to it, right? So that's where a coach comes in. Like, we sit down and we come up with a plan that's going to work best for you. So like for me and my clients, we come up with values, or they come up with values. Like I help them to uncover their values. And we come up with a plan that's going to help them to define those boundaries for themselves. Really practice self-care, really practice saying no to things that don't light them up, because that's part of the concern as well too. We're so good at saying yes to others, but not so good at saying yes to ourselves. So really coaching helps you to uncover your own voice. So I've had a couple of clients where they're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was a source of concern. Like I wasn't speaking up and saying the things that I needed. So really tapping into your voice. And when you do that too, like a lot of times when we say yes, it can be a source of angst and anxiety, a source of stress. So once you learn how to tap into your voice, you find that some of those stresses, they're no longer stresses because you're saying what it is that you need, and really in a way that encourages open communication. I think for myself and for such a long time, it was easy for me to avoid that hard conversation. I don't want to say this. And then, it just takes up a lot of mental chatter. Like some of the things that we're avoiding, it just runs in the background and it really slows you down from being your best self. So for them to like be able to say what they mean what they say, that's a huge benefit. And for us to really just see what's holding us back. Like, is it a lack of not prioritizing yourself, like, your time management skills, right? Is it like sleep habits? Is it exercise habits? So some of the things that it's more about habit training. So we get to really work on a habit, because every single day it's choosing something that you want to do and building that momentum to give you that push to keep you moving forward. So yeah, coaching is impactful for that. And I wouldn't say we're cheerleaders. We really help to uncover what it is that's holding you back and to stand for the future that you have designed for yourself, and really to hold you accountable to it. So accountability, really setting you up for success, uncovering your voice, tapping into that self-worth, decreasing stress, and just finding habits that are going to be life-given instead of the ones that we're used to doing, which can pull away from us, but really finding those areas that light us up.
Yeah. The other thing, what I've really admired about dentistry in general is it encourages a lot of entrepreneurship, because you have to start your practice, and because physicians most of the time the majority is employer-based employment, so you're working for a hospital or
Yeah.
a clinic, and then this idea of like private practice is kind of getting out of vogue. So how do you, what are unique challenges dental professionals face in terms of leadership and managing practices, and how do you address these challenges in your coaching training?
Yeah. So something that you said that really struck a chord too was dentistry encourages you to be more entrepreneurial, but for me, I didn't choose that path.
Yeah.
I had some concerns that didn't have it to line up for me. But be that as it may, I feel like a lot of people, actually, I don't have the data on this, but it would seem that more people are going to work for corporations, so akin to what you guys have in medicine. The private practice era is declining because supply costs. A lot of us younger ones are hoping for more of a work-life balance, and they may think that working for a corporation may afford you that opportunity to have more work-life balance as opposed to owning your own practice. But the verdict is out on that, because if you own your own business, you clearly are your own boss, so you can set set the times that work best for you. Two, more and more women are coming out into the workforce. So we have less than actually last year we had 50% female graduating from medical school, dental school, sorry, dental school last year, which is great. But with us, it's a completely male-driven industry. There are certain things that are going to come with us being more and more females coming out into practice. One, more of us want to have that work-life balance. So really helping us to define what that means for us as well too is incredibly helpful. So that boils us down to leadership. What do we think about leadership? Is leadership a title? No, for me, leadership is a lifestyle. It's a way in which I lead myself. And we have practice with that for ourselves, right? Like, it's the same thing that we spoke about earlier, like knowing what our values are, leading into our strengths, finding the areas that we're not so good at and maybe delegating them or maybe spending more time to refine that.
Yeah.
Three, and leaning into accountability and coaching as well too. So it goes hand in hand. Leadership, once you learn how to lead yourself better, so you know what you want, you speak your voice, you speak your truth, then you're able to lead a team. So a lot of times what I see with my clients who just started this entrepreneurial journey, like started to own their own practice, they haven't really figured out where they want to go and haven't set that vision and really got the buy-in from the other employees to help them to get on that vision. So, with being a leader, there's a level of influence that you have, and that influence translates into your working relationship with your employer and your employee as well too. So really just honing that skill would help us get what we want, either from an employee standpoint or an employer standpoint as well too. So learning how to lead is super important. It's the number one criteria for anything. And it starts with you. It really does start with you. So learning how to lead yourself is going to be more than beneficial to help lead a team of 2, 3, 4, or 10. So that's what I'm seeing coming into play. What else? So supply chain costs that may come into play as well too. I know we have the power of AI, Chat GPT, all these AI bots are taking over. We have surgical instruments. We have a robot that can place implants for us. So in terms of efficiency and productivity, learning how to leverage the power of technology can help us in our fields as well too. And it helps because as doctors, the things that we're great at is providing patient care and developing trust with our patients. So the things that we're not really that great at is, managing the schedules. We can be, but if somebody else can do it better, that's where we lean into their strengths as well too. So what I'm hoping and what we have created for other teams is that, we're tapping into the strengths of, the office manager, the dental assistant, the doctor. And by doing that, we're leveraging all our powers so to have a better patient experience, to cut costs for supplies, and also to move the needle for that culture that we want for our teams. Yeah.
How can people find out more about you and see the work that you do, reach out to you for coaching and so on?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn and I have a website as well too. It's www.stoddartcoaching.com. So I use both of those interchangeably. So if you can find me on LinkedIn, it's Dr. Stoddart. If you find me on the coaching website, it's the URL that's going to be provided in the show notes today. And yeah, I'm just here as a resource for all of us. For me, like I want to be in a healthcare environment in which there's no more burnout. I said the other day that 62% of physicians and doctors are burnt out. So it almost seems as if burnout is inevitable. But if we continue to take a stand for who we are at the core, it's the greatest gift that we can give to our healthcare system, because if more of us stand up for what we believe in, the healthcare system has to change instead of the other way around. They're not gonna change if we don't stand up for what we want. So that's my invitation for us today, is to stand into who you are as Chris, as Stephanie, as a doctor, as a mom, as a wife, as a dad, and then that's going to lead the charge in the world that we're creating, because everyone deserves to be happy, healthy, and wealthy. So that's my invitation for us today.
And I love that. And I love more healthcare professionals are getting on the train and doing something, getting on the podcast, blogging, speaking. And all of Stephanie's resources will be in the links and show notes. And thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Chris.